Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of
Gato.
My name is Hans.
I'm Edward.
And we are your hosts for now and forevermore.
Or until some llama comes and kicks us in the ass.
Oh, we're going to get to that very soon. If that's something that piques your interest, definitely stay tuned to your favorite variety podcast that deals with everything gaming, entertainment, lifestyle, and technology related.
Mm-hmm.
I know Edward doesn't want me to do these recaps of what Gettle's about, but we might have new listeners, and if you're one of our long-term listeners, which we actually have a few of, welcome back. If you're new, welcome.
Hello.
So Edward, how are you doing?
Good. Can't complain.
I'm also good, thank you very much. My back is better than last week, at the very least. So that's definitely a start. I know that you actually had quite an eventful video game review week this week.
Yes, I reviewed quite a few titles, and quite a few more is coming. So keep
definitely stay tuned. So Ed was just going to give us a brief overview of Ghost of Tsushima for PS4, and Paws and Soul for PC.
Yeah. So Ghost of Tsushima. When did I review that? I can't even remember. Tuesday. When was the embargo date?
And I think the review came out on Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday. So you can go and read that right 14th, now if you'd like. But it's basically an open world adventure game. It's a tale of revenge and rebuilding society. Technically, but also not. I can't say more than that without spoiling stuff. But it's essentially Assassin's Creed in feudal Japan, but it's
listen, that's all you had to say. I'm ready. I want to play.
With that said, it is more Witcher than Assassin's Creed.
Okay, Edward, you're still selling me on this title because whether it's Witcher or Assassin's Creed, I want to play. I mean more so because you said it's set in Japan. I mean that is just a fantastic setting.
Exactly.
Feudal Japan know-how, hey?
Exactly. Right at the beginning of the Kurosawa period, I believe of... I might be messing up the name with the actual film director.
I think you are. Kurosawa.
but
look, either way.
It's a very good game. It's a beautiful game. And the sounds and the colors in the game is
the
amazing.
Visuals, yeah. And what did you score it?
I scored it a 95, I believe. 90 or 95.
Excellent. That's very high. That's actually pretty awesome for PlayStation 4. It means it's ending its generation with quite a bang, which is quite awesome.
It really is. Following on from Last of Us. So, yeah.
And what was the other game? Paws and Soul.
Yes. It's another game I played this week, and it actually surprised me a bit because I didn't expect it to be anything like it was.
You didn't expect to enjoy it.
Yes. And I actually ended up really, really loving it. It's a super indie title. It's mega indie. It's rough around the edges. But at the end of the day, the narrative is well-paced, and it's as cliche as it is. It's actually delivered in a very, very powerful way, is the word I was looking for.
So like my understanding from having read your review is that you take on the role of a fox, and it deals with like life and rebirth of a character called David and then other characters as well, right? Just like how they've lived through their lives.
So you're not a fox, you're a wolf.
A wolf, okay.
Yes. I think you're thinking of foxes because of Tsushima.
I am.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I think you can pet foxes in Ghost of Tsushima.
You can. And people wonder why I score these things high.
And people wonder why you... Yeah, exactly.
A little bias there. Anyway, you take on the form of a wolf, and the wolf monologues and everything as you go through the story, and as you follow the life and times of David and a French girl named Michelle. And
awesome.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Okay, granted, it's an indie title, so
yes.
I mean, I know we have quite a strict scoring, methodology.
Yes.
But I do know that sometimes for indie titles, we do give them leniency because you can't. It's not fair to compare a AAA title to, which has like a studio of like 30 people versus an indie developed by 2 people. Yeah,
that's exactly it. At the end of the day, I score the game according to how much I enjoyed it.
And in this case, what did you give it?
I think it's an 85. It's really up there.
Listen, for an indie title, that's great.
Yes,
that's really, really cool.
Yeah, there are a few titles that catch me as much as this one did. What did you do, Hans?
Okay, well, not about what did I do, but it's more about. Okay, so look, I'm happy to be talking about the stuff that we actually do on Famous, because I feel we've sort of neglected that a little bit in the last couple of episodes.
We have.
I have come across a new game called Deathground. And I'm a huge fan of Jurassic Park. Even you guys, those who are listening, my adoration for the franchise and just dinosaurs in general. Hello, Edward's bird.
Yeah, I was just checking the recording and see if it's picking up. It doesn't look like so.
Either way, he loves saying hello to us every time we record Gettle. And actually, that's quite apt because I'm talking about dinosaurs and they birds. Are his ancestors, right? Yeah. So Deathgrounds essentially is like an amalgamation of Jurassic Park meets Alien Isolation. And it just looks incredible. It's a Kickstarter title. I've backed it naturally because I just couldn't help myself. And I'm very much looking forward to it. So I don't have much more to say about it right now, other than you should check it out. And like all the titles we're talking about right now, we will obviously link in the show notes so you can go and read up a little bit more about everything. Other than that, I have started game streaming again.
Yeah. So finally.
Long before we started the Gettle podcast, back in 2018, I delved into streaming online, specifically with Famous, the Famous YouTube channel, which I have recently assumed into my own channel. It's actually doing fairly well. And, a lot of things have happened. Like, we lost the house in a fire. Then we were attacked earlier this year, which means that they stole everything. So every time I was just about to get back up on my feet, I had to start from scratch again. So, with that said, I'm now in a good position to once again do this again, or at least, try it out. Because I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot before. And, from a South African perspective, our streams were actually really innovative. We did a lot of things that nobody else was doing back in 2018. But of course, 2 years have gone by. So there's many more people in the scene now, which is great. It's really fantastic. But yeah, so I'll be doing it. I don't have a streaming schedule set just yet, but I'm hoping for possibly Sunday mornings and maybe Thursday evenings. Twitch will be the primary platform, but I'll also have video going through to Facebook and possibly YouTube. So if anybody's interested, by all means, you can check me out. I think it's twitch.tv/Hanshaupt, I think that's the URL.
Either
just
way,
search
we'll
my name
it.
and you'll find it. Yeah, either way, we'll link it in the show notes. Right. So now getting into and I hate this expression, the meat and potatoes of the episode.
The meat and potatoes.
Edward mentioned llamas just now. Now, these are fascinating creatures.
Yes.
They love spitting in your face. And they're just unique looking. It's a little bit of quick game trivia since we're talking about games now. Llamas have often featured prominently in Maxis games, especially for like The Sims and stuff. But anyway, Edward discovered the most fascinating research to do with how llamas are going to help us battle the Rona.
How they might help us battle the Rona.
Yes,
Rona.
It doesn't matter whether they. The llama.
Yeah,
llama. I was hoping that maybe there'd be some sort of like amber liquid with dinosaur DNA that's helping us cure it, because then we could also have dinosaurs.
Let's not get into the whole end of the world discussion.
Do you want to go back into our chimera talk from, what was it, episode 19 or was it? No, sorry, episode 21.
21.
Triple X episode, yeah. All right.
No,
okay, so yeah, tell us more, Edward.
Yeah, it turns out that llamas actually have very, very potent antibodies. So essentially, I discovered...
Called nanobodies?
Yes.
What?
So essentially, I discovered scientists. I wanted to say journalists. Scientists.
Well,
wrote,
I mean,
that they wrote
journal,
in a journal
so.
that llama antibodies, which are called nanobodies for a good reason. I'll get to that in a second.
Okay, because I was just about to ask. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
They are super potent fighters against all kinds of diseases and viruses. And so the professor from the Oxford University called Ray Owens found that llama nanobodies potently, and I say that with air quotes, block the interaction between the virus and the human cell.
Is this particularly COVID-19?
Yes, this is particularly COVID-19.
Okay.
Now they are strong against all kinds of viruses, because of the fact that they are very, very tiny. They apparently are.
You mean these nanobodies?
Yes. Now the reason they are called nanobodies is because they are tinier than antibodies. Now, all they are is just antibodies, but they're just very tiny.
Just smaller.
And because they are this tiny, they can fit into little pockets of proteins and cells, and essentially block the virus from getting into those pockets, whereas antibodies cannot. And yes, now the COVID-19 protein is called ACE2. I don't really know what ACE stands for, but it's designated ACE2. And they found that ACE2 can get by human antibodies, thanks to the fact that they're just too big. Antibodies are just huge compared to what the virus can do.
That's why it affects us so easily as well.
Yes.
So in addition to being super infective, in addition to being super infectious, it's also able to bypass our antibodies. So therefore,
that's essentially it. Now llama antibodies, not only do they work very well with human cells, because as a bit of context, llama antibodies have been used in cancer and disease treatments for decades now. So we already know they work very well with human cells.
With the human system, that is incredible.
Exactly. So not only
that was one of the other questions I had, was like how do they know this? How do they know? Because just to speak about our chimera episode from a while back.
Yeah.
We mentioned how generally speaking and generally thinking, zygotes from different species are generally not compatible. So, it obviously stands to reason that other things like antibodies and other cellular structures might also not be compatible.
Exactly.
So the fact that the llama is with their nanobodies, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So basically, let them spit in your face. It's good.
Essentially, spit in your face, rub that shit all over, instead of getting some human to cough in your face and infect you.
Oh gosh.
It's weird, actually, but yeah, you're spot on. And basically, or for even more context, a little bit of trivia is that llamas, any camelid, has these antibodies, has these nano cells that work very well with humans.
Hold on. What word did you say?
Camelid.
You mean any camel-like creature?
Yes. So that's camels. That's I think even giraffes fall in that category, but I'm not entirely sure.
Oh, good. I want you all who are listening to remember giraffe, because that's going to come up later.
Okay. So yeah, essentially they work just very well in combating this virus. But the issue now is that extracting nanobodies from llamas and inoculating llamas is a very, very slow procedure. And compared to conventional COVID-19 research at the moment, it's actually so slow that they don't want to fund it and they don't want to support it.
Well, look, I'm glad you said slower and not, debilitating towards the creatures.
No, it's apparently not at all.
Like, I mean, I don't want to always reference the Chimera episode, but damn, it was a good one.
It was.
It was a 21. We'll link it in the show notes. But, when we spoke about that, there were other side effects to testing, obviously, on animals. And that is that, what are the ethical quandaries surrounding it? So at least in this scenario, the llamas are good. We're not hurting them. We're not genetically modifying them. We're just extracting their nanobodies for use in combating disease.
Yeah.
Which is great.
For some reason, while you were speaking now, I was getting that bad X-Files movie flashbacks where the animals and the dogs were like getting their heads spliced on each other's bodies.
But exactly. But that's what the whole Chimera thing was about.
Exactly.
And how we found out about how they're making sheep people and whatever else.
Yeah, it's weird.
At least for this, with the llamas, that's not happening. They're just extracting antibodies, which is just from blood. And, that's a little, pinprick. That's not so bad.
Exactly.
And
that's why it's so slow, because they are being humane about it. So
yes.
And
wow.
Yeah, it's amazing to know that llamas can potentially save us from this mess.
That's cool. So oh my gosh, this makes me think of The Last of Us because a couple of weeks back, Edward reviewed The Last of Us 2 for PlayStation 4. And it's the first time we've ever given a perfect score to a game. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who may not know or understand the story, it's post-apocalyptic. And at the end of the first game, which came out more than 7 years ago, so this isn't a spoiler, you find out that Ellie actually is immune to the disease, which is turning everybody into these creatures.
Yeah.
And it's just funny to think that perhaps the key to human civilization surviving the post-apocalypse is in llamas.
It could very, very well be.
Instead of like something else, it's the llamas are the key. You know?
It's weird.
Man. Well, this obviously, you made particular mention to coronavirus and how this is specifically the kind of research that they're doing at the moment to try and combat it. And we know that there are a lot of breakthroughs that are happening right now, but nothing concrete just yet because they still have to do a lot of testing. However, what you can all do, and this is honestly just non-negotiable, is wear a freaking mask.
Please.
Okay?
Like,
please.
Yeah, on that note, I came across a cool video this week as well.
Exactly. This is exactly where we're going.
Literally called "Wear a Mask." It's a simple video.
It's stop being an idiot and wear a mask. Okay.
I actually was going to say the word and just have you beep it out, but that's better.
Look, this is just easier. Okay.
Yeah, and essentially this video is just a PSA that kindly asks everyone to just don't be an idiot. People like to throw around the word COVID-idiot, which I don't really like. But don't be
because
one.
They're just idiots.
Yeah.
They're not idiots because of the disease.
Exactly.
They're
just idiots. Stupid.
Yeah.
And just wear a mask. Also, the video is not really an insult to anyone. It's actually an informative video. It tells you how it looks when you breathe and when you cough, and how it looks when someone coughs on you.
It starts off a little tongue-in-cheek.
Very strongly. Yes.
Yeah, so look, I actually want to play that. Now bear in mind, I would like to think that you, our audience, our listeners, which are growing weekly, are of a different breed. I mean, you're listening to, in my opinion, a podcast about weird and wonderful things. So I would like to assume those of you who are listening are interested in being educated and informed. So this is not technically for you, but you might have people in your life who this video might
spread
be
it
for.
around.
So we're just going to play the first, the opening seconds of it, and then we'll link it below.
Hello. You should be wearing a mask. Why aren't you wearing a mask? Are you being a snowflake and complaining about your rights? Are you telling people you can't breathe? Good luck breathing with the coronavirus. Look at this video of various everyday people like you and me ejecting mucus out of their face holes. What would make this less disgusting? Wearing a f***ing mask.
Okay, well, there we go. Okay, I believe that you, our audience, are doing this anyway.
Yes.
But if you have bitches in your life that are not, you know what to do.
Yeah, just send
and
them
just
the
in case
video.
it's not clear, send them the video.
In fact, make the video as viral as the virus, because why not?
Well, yeah.
People need to hear it.
Well, do you know what is contagious? And it directly relates to this video.
Stupidity.
Is idiocy. Yeah.
Well, there we go. Idiocy works.
And this actually, again, sometimes I just wonder, like, how do we, come across these things? And it's sometimes just so interesting and apt for an episode. And one of the things that I came across earlier this week was something called the Dunning-Kruger Effect. Now, it's a psychological sort of term to describe people who have a cognitive bias that goes directly against what is actually valid. So, good examples of people who exhibit the Dunning-Kruger effect are like flat earth theorists, anti-vaxxers, and, as we've just mentioned, people who are refusing to wear a mask.
It's stupid. Like,
okay, look. To us, because we feel we're a little bit more well informed, which I'll get to in a second, because we may not very well be well informed at all. But that's a bit of a longer conversation. So, essentially, the Dunning-Kruger effect explores why do incompetent people feel that they are competent. And before we can further explore it, we have to mention something called cognitive bias. Now, everybody has cognitive bias.
Yeah.
Whether you think you do or not, we all exhibit it, because it helps us make snap decisions and thoughts, and it guides your life in many ways. So, a great example, or an easy digestible example, would be, let's say you're going out to meet people, but you don't particularly want to drink alcohol because you don't want to feel intoxicated. So you think to yourself, all right, I'm going to choose to drink coffee because you have read about the antioxidant benefits and you like the caffeine kick. So those are cognitive biases that you're relying on to help you make a quick and easy decision. Now, the thing about cognitive bias, however, is that it can take a much bigger role in your life. And a good example of this is, let's assume you start going down the rabbit hole of conjecture and conspiracy theory on YouTube, and you now start believing in, anti-vax propaganda.
Yeah.
That is essentially influencing your cognitive bias about something to the point where you start believing it's the truth, but you are now factually incorrect.
Yeah.
That is the Dunning-Kruger effect. So the Dunning-Kruger effect is whereby your cognitive biases are so strong, you believe in something despite the evidence proving the opposite. Okay? And a great example that the researchers David Dunning and Justin Kruger, which is what the Dunning-Kruger effect is named after, is whereby there was an individual, a man, who robbed 2 banks. Gosh. Interestingly enough, he didn't wear a mask or anything. He just walked into the bank, robbed it, walked into another bank, robbed it, went home. And naturally, the police found him because, hello, cameras. We know exactly who this person is. And he was flabbergasted that they found him. He was like, how? How did you know it was me? Yeah. And they were like, well, obviously, we saw it in the video. Yeah. It was you. You didn't even have a mask on. And he said simply,
the juice.
Yes, but I put lemon juice over my skin, which means that I cannot be seen by video cameras.
His words were, I thought the juice worked.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, that there is a perfect example of a cognitive bias completely influencing your life in a negative way because it goes against established fact.
Yeah.
Now, to further elaborate again on, the Dunning-Kruger effect, it just there's a little bit more to it than that. So the Dunning-Kruger effect also looks at how you perceive yourself in the grand scheme of things. So, the whole question of why do incompetent people think they are competent? And that's because many people, when asked to rate certain things, like how well can they drive or how well can they make a cup of coffee, general normal things that might have cognitive bias associations or biases, they will often rate themselves above the average. Now, thing is, and as much as many of us dislike believing it, we're mostly average. Very, very few people are outliers on the scale.
Yeah.
Or in the top percentiles.
At least
so
far.
Well, I mean, at least that far on the spectrum. So most of us are generally average and in the middle. Of course, it depends on certain things. So if you're an award-winning pianist, sure, you're obviously on the upper end of the scale, obviously.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But if you're Joe Soap in Benoni and you're practicing on your piano and you think you're as good as an award-winning pianist, yeah, I have news for you. You're not. Okay? I mean, you might think... a great example of this is if you look at idols. How many people think that they're above average and can sing?
See, but that...
And then you watch those auditions and you're like, yeah, like basically 99% of them can't.
See, but the issue there, though, is I always think that people surrounding them are never true with them. They're never just honest and telling them, like, listen, you can't sing.
Or could it be that those people are psychologically believing that they are better?
Well, that's
no, think about it like this. Think about a parent and their child. How many parents think their kids are better than other kids? A lot.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of parents do.
Millions.
So yes, I mean, sure, your circle of friends, you should hopefully have people who would be truthful with you. But think about this now. Let's assume you were to do idols, or you were to sing. That's quite in some respects, a personal thing, to ask people like for their valid opinion. So you ask people who are more inclined to agree with your worldview.
Yeah.
You see? So just reinforces your cognitive biases. So that's technically how this also works. And this is why America right now, yes, America, are having so many problems. Because there's so many people out there who believe that they're above average in intelligence and knowledge, that they are refusing the most basic of aspects to fight this disease, like wearing a mask.
Like, I think it's California that literally just broke the record of the most...
So, look, again, and what I find interesting is that I've Dunning-Krugered myself with this explanation in this podcast. And that's not because I think that I'm, above average or anything like that, but obviously... I'm speaking of this after having just read it. I am not a learned individual in this field of study. So obviously, I now implore you, our listeners, to further read up on this if you're interested.
Exactly.
But also note that what I've said is possibly accurate for the most part.
But Hans,
I am human after all.
The fact that you realize that you have Dunning-Krugered yourself, I think that... that doesn't put you on the scale of it because you actively promote people going out and finding more.
You're actually spot on. In this sense, in terms of the Dunning-Kruger effect, it mostly affects people who are unable to realize that they're Dunning-Krugering themselves.
Exactly.
If you want to give that as a term, as a word.
It's not like you have like mega hubris, calling yourself super smart, and
well, you see, there's a bigger discussion to be had here because there's a fine line between believing in yourself and believing in something delusional about yourself.
Yeah.
So it's very important. Like cognitive biases are a part of us. They're part of reality. Everybody has one. You have to have them to survive because, in addition to helping you process information, make decisions and things, it also protects you in many ways.
Yeah.
If you believe, and I say this from like a faith-based perspective. If I have notions about my my faith and my beliefs, those are going to influence the way I think about things.
Yeah.
So it's quite there's more to talk about it, but we won't talk too much more about it. Rather, and this was quite funny because when I discussed Dunning-Kruger with Edward, he actually brought up that Commodus Caesar was probably somebody who
well, at least
who
his
suffered from this.
at least his depiction in the movie Gladiator.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was. Like, I don't know how Commodus Caesar himself was. I've never really touched up upon my Roman history, but
but we'd like to assume that the
that-
Hollywood version of him might have some truth to it.
somewhat truthful. Yeah, we hope. Anyway, in the movie, it turns out that Commodus Caesar is a little bit of an asshole. He ends up killing his
Played by
father.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, which is an amazing actor, by the way.
Yeah, very, very good. Very good.
He ends up killing his father because his father wants to make not him emperor, but some Roman general.
Someone else?
Played by Russell Crowe. I forgot his full name, but it doesn't really matter in this regard. General
I think
Maximus.
it's Maximus.
Yeah.
Yeah, General Maximus.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
And he ends up killing his father and enslaving Maximus, and he thought he killed them, but he didn't. Anyway.
And just being a general douchebag.
Yes,
Okay.
I digress.
Yeah.
The reason I think he has Dunning-Kruger syndrome is because of his hubris, because he thinks he's the be-all and end-all, and he has all this power, only to be usurped at the end by the slave gladiator champion who suddenly caught the hearts of many.
Yes.
And it's amazing, yeah.
You know, this is like a bit of an analogy of coronavirus. All these people who think they're better than it, only for the coronavirus to slay them in the end.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just thought about that when you were
That's
talking about
actually smart, yeah. Wow.
Well, look, this segue, there's a purpose to it, and that is because Edward and I were talking about sequels.
Yeah.
Sequels to films. You know, should films have sequels? And, you know, if they do, why?
Yeah.
You know, and one of the big ones we came across was that there was actually a Gladiator 2 sequel in the works, which is very strange because so just a quick overview of the movie, just as a quick refresher, so we can actually talk about it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
As Edward mentioned, you know, Joaquin Phoenix is Emperor Commodus, and you know, he says in the film, the general who became a slave, the slave who became a gladiator, the gladiator who defied an emperor. Striking story. Now the people want to see how the story ends, and naturally, you know, it's a happy ending where Maximus kills Commodus in the Colosseum, avenging the murder of his wife and son. Unfortunately, he does eventually die at the end.
Yeah.
So, you know, the movie doesn't leave anything open for a sequel.
Yeah, literally
the
nothing.
star actor dies and all plot lines are resolved.
Yeah.
So the question then is, why? And what would it have been about?
Yeah. Like, I must say, thinking now, I can't think of any other movie that's executed this cleanly. Like, it has a beginning and a solid end.
Well, I mean, look, it won a variety of Oscar awards for a reason. Hey?
Exactly.
I mean, it's, you know, for cinematography, for visuals, but also because the story was so gripping.
Exactly. Yeah, so apparently you got something about... Yeah.
Yes. I have some talk of what a sequel would have been like. So
And
just going to
ignite
briefly
us.
like talk about it. Essentially,
weird.
both Ridley Scott and Russell Crowe commissioned people to write scripts for it.
Yeah.
Now, according to the original sequel script from Ridley Scott, who, as you know, was the original director from the first movie, he got John Logan, a screenwriter from the film, to just, you know, write something basic about how it takes place in ancient Rome. However, it didn't feature Russell Crowe or any of the previous gladiators for obvious reasons, because their stories came to an end. Now, Crowe caught wind of this and he was like, oh, hell no. I want to be featured in the sequel if there's going to be one. So he decided to get a gentleman by the name of Nick Cave, who is a theatrical singer-songwriter, musician, to write a script. And initially, Cave was perplexed, and he was like, well, you died. Like, how do you want me to come back? And Crowe's answer was, yeah, you figure it out.
And he ended up doing time travel of all things.
Yes. So Cave went on to write the most absurd sequel story of how Maximus, obviously dying at the end of the first film, now appears in what he thought would be Elysium, which is basically like their version of heaven, because, he wants to be reunited with his family.
Yeah.
But it's not. He's in some sort of weird sort of limbo. And in this limbo, he comes across a ghostly depiction of Mordecai, who then leads him to other characters like Jupiter and Mars and other Roman deities. And in all of this, it turns out that they've been betrayed by one of their own, and they want Maximus to avenge them. And through this second story of revenge, he will be able to go through to Elysium. But before he can capture the perpetrator, he gets thrust back into the human realm and must now once again fight through, I think it turns out to be Commodus's nephew. Who's now also evil, apparently. Naturally. I know it's stupid. Anyway, so he needs to fight through this, and then apparently in like the final battle, which apparently was in the Colosseum with like 100 crocodiles or something, alligators apparently, because bigger has to be better.
Obvious.
Because it's a sequel. Apparently during this final battle, there's time travel, where it turns out that as he's trying to do this, he gets warped through different decades, such as the Crusades, the World Wars, Vietnam, which overall has this message of how humanity has been condemned to an eternal cycle of bloodshed because Maximus kept choosing revenge instead of like a peaceful terminology.
My mind just blew. I'll talk about that later. Just finish your thought.
Needless to say, Russell Crowe didn't like it and didn't go for it. And it eventually came out, that the writer, Nick Cave, actually said he didn't expect it to be picked up. Yeah. So he just had good fun with the script. And a part of me thought to myself, did he Dunning-Kruger this? Did he think he was so good that he literally...
I think he was purposeful.
No, I know.
I think it was like, this is ridiculous shit, and I'm gonna just make up something.
That's what I think. I think he was like, what? He was like, there's no way this is gonna work.
Yeah.
No way that they'll do this. So he just had like a good time
fun.
with
it. My mind just blew, by the way, when you spoke about the Crusades and everything. Have you noticed that Russell Crowe has been in like all these weird failed historical epics lately?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, actually. Like he's been in Robin Hood, and he was Noah in that Noah in the Ark movie.
And that movie was terrible.
Like, do you think he was inspired by this somehow? I hope not.
Well,
maybe he has a Dunning-Kruger.
That's Dunning-Kruger. That's mega Dunning-Kruger.
He keeps thinking that he's better than the scripts he signs on to. I don't know.
Anyway, this is how you don't do a sequel. Because, gosh dang, someone played too much God of War.
Okay, well, this is the thing. So, naturally, when we heard about this and read about this, we were like, what films shouldn't have had sequels? And we're going to talk a little bit about this. So, like, for myself, as much as I love Jurassic Park, and damn, do I love Jurassic Park. There are times where I'm just like, I really wish they didn't make sequels, because I do not like the Jurassic World series at all. I think it's an abomination, and they're trying to pander to a modern audience and failing at it, in my personal opinion. Yes, there are certain aspects to it, where they're like genetic engineering, and yes, sure, we spoke about Chimera, so, I get where they were going with some of it, but it's not just that. It's the acting, and trying to make a PG-13 dinosaur movie just doesn't work. Unless the movie is about awe and like the awe and beauty of these creatures, fine. PG-13 is good, but like these are dinosaurs. These are, think of a crocodile. The way a crocodile eats something, it's vicious. It attacks it. It's a lizard.
Yeah.
So give me an R18 film, please, with Jurassic Park, and I'll be happy.
To be fair, if they made more movies R-rated, I think they would benefit immensely.
They would be so much better.
Yeah.
Just like the game that I mentioned earlier.
Exactly.
So look, with that on the mind, like, Disney is one of the worst offenders when it comes to sequels.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. The Lion King has a sequel. Sleeping Beauty has a sequel.
Cars.
I don't know if Snow White has a sequel.
Frozen.
But doesn't. Oh my gosh, yeah. The other day, Diona watched the sequel, and I saw the first 10 minutes of it, and I was like,
it's
no.
crap.
And then she
It's
finished
so bad.
watching it, and then she came to you afterwards, and she was like, no, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you see, they've gone and they've ruined a wonderful standalone film for the sake of more money. That's really all that it is.
Many people would argue
You know?
Star Wars even. Like, Disney is ruining...
No, I would argue the opposite.
I would as well. I'm just saying
I
people.
Yeah. So this is now a different discussion now. So the cool thing with Star Wars is that they always had the story in mind. So they had a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's not like Jurassic Park, for example, which Michael Crichton is the original author of the books.
Yes.
And the original movies are based on the books. So he did write Jurassic Park, The Lost World. You know, he did write those. But Jurassic Park 3...
Right.
Jurassic World? No, that stuff doesn't exist. And with this in mind, it makes me think of other franchises which most likely should have just been one-hit wonders, like The Matrix. Did we really need Revolutions and whatever the other one was? And now they're making a fourth one? So
I'm still wondering about that fourth, because apparently Keanu's returning, and we all know he died at the end. Spoilers.
He died? I can't even remember if he died.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Maybe this is like a Gladiator
Oh my gosh.
scenario.
Like, I guess they're going to do the Matrix is rebooted story arc, which still...
Or maybe he died, but then his consciousness remains, right? Remains in the Matrix.
Kind of like how Agent Smith ended up.
But remember, if memory serves, because it's been such a long time since I've seen the trilogy, didn't that guy in white tell Neo that he was now the new person to steer the Matrix?
You could be
because
correct.
it's different iterations, and every iteration comes to this point, and it just gets redone.
I think you're correct. I don't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, that's just honestly though. Like, okay, this is not to say that sequels shouldn't be made.
Yeah.
All right. But if you're going to do it, have them planned in mind from the beginning.
Thank you.
And then if the first film is not good enough for the sequels, fine. Get somebody to write the books then.
Yeah.
But don't write a standalone film and then try to expand on it afterwards, because it just doesn't work.
Exactly.
At least in my opinion.
Like, to me, I remember being like visibly angry for a long time about Pirates of the Caribbean.
Because there were so many. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see, there we go. So that's a classic case of Disney ruining a franchise for monetary gain.
Exactly. Like sorry, my dogs are going crazy. So, like, the first movie was a standalone story. It had a beginning and an end. And then suddenly the second movie came out, and it was literally... It ended on a cliffhanger, which told me that they had a plan.
There would be another one.
They had a single plan for the first movie, and then the moment they saw cash, they started doing these cliffhangers and these badly written sequels. And that made me angry, and I stopped watching after the third movie.
Yeah. And it basically, I think the only draw for the films was Johnny Depp, because John Sparrow is just a phenomenal character.
Jack Sparrow.
But it made sense. I'm sorry, Jack Sparrow. What did I say?
John Sparrow. He's American cousin.
Game of Thrones. No. Yeah, let's not talk about Game of Thrones. You guys know where I stand on that.
Yes.
Just quickly before we move on, I mentioned giraffe earlier.
Yeah.
Just want to say that apparently in Nick Cave's sequel to Gladiator, in Gladiator 2, the Emperor laments his giraffe being struck by lightning. I just thought that was hilarious.
What?
And I don't even know why that would be a thing, but apparently it was in the script. So
that's the moment that sparks his evil plan.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay.
Wow.
So actually, I'm curious to know. So what I'd like to hear from you, our listeners, is what sequels do you think shouldn't have been made? We've spoken about a few. Let us know some of your favorite sequels, perhaps. Sometimes sequels exist that are often better than the original films. They're few and far between.
Yeah.
It depends on their source material on that as well. But, what sequels do you think shouldn't have been made, or what sequels do you think were really good?
Yeah.
Definitely let us know.
Yeah.
Depending on whatever platform you listen to, you can either DM us on socials or comment below the video or audio productions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, and again, talking about movies and actors and things, we know that fandoms exist.
Yes.
And they are, big and passionate. I mean, that's why we have like Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout, Comic-Con's everywhere. You get American Comic-Con, UK Comic-Con, Australian ones. We even have a South African one.
Well,
and so, not this year.
This year we have digital Comic-Con.
But the point stands that fandoms exist, and a lot of the times fans can be quite, what's the word? Well, I that is a word. They can be a little misguided.
Yeah.
Can we say Dunning-Kruger
Dunning-Kruger,
yeah. Okay, we're probably not even using that correctly, but regardless, Edward found the most fascinating topic to do with Gillian Anderson and her role in sex education on Netflix,
yes.
which is an excellent show, by the way.
Yeah, it's really a good show. It's a comedy show, in case you were wondering, so you can watch it with the family.
Y'all should watch it.
Just don't watch it with the children.
Well, I wouldn't say watch it.
but it is. Yeah, it's not as.
It's R16 for a reason.
Yeah, but it's also not as bad as you think it is. It's better than Californication in that regard. But I still think Californication is amazing.
The difference was Californication was it was in your face.
Yes.
Whereas Sex Education has a bit more of a humorous tone to it. Like they show like erections and what happens as a teenage boy, and
exactly it goes through the entire thing. Now,
yes.
After I watched Sex Education a while ago, I was Googling stuff and I found this amazing post about Gillian Anderson being sent a buttload of adult toys. Just because
no
of
pun
her
intended.
role. Exactly. Just because of her role in this show. And
yes.
Yeah, and it got me thinking like, wow, but that must be like surprising for her, because I've only known her as Scully my entire life. She's been on like one.
Oh, but of course,
exactly.
And she was also excellent in Hannibal, by the way.
I've not watched Hannibal yet.
Oh, you must, Edward. It's excellent. It's such a pity that show got cancelled. It was just superbly done.
I heard it was an award-winning show.
We're digressing
now. So I read further, and apparently Gillian Anderson don't mind. In fact, she likes the fact that people are actively sending her things that allows her to open up to her children and be more like the cool mom.
Yes. Well, I mean, what else would you be able to do if people are sending dildos to your premises?
Exactly.
I mean, you kind of got to be like, children, I have to just talk to you about this quickly.
Exactly. Like,
Mummy isn't ordering these things for herself, okay?
Yeah, it's because of Mummy's job.
It's like Mum uses them sometimes, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, when you're old enough. But essentially, well, to be fair, I think her children are already adults because she is 51 years old.
Well, I mean, they're old enough.
Yeah.
It's not like they're
so they probably
young.
understand, but I can just imagine how the first few boxes or the first few, the packages that arrived.
Yeah. Look, I mean, one of the first things that I thought of when you said this was like, I was wondering if she would use any of them. And then I was like, no, because I wouldn't. If somebody, but you see, this leads me now into like a dark path, because you know how gross some people can be. You'll get these people that will like use the devices and then package it and send it off and get like that weird satisfaction of hoping that their favorite actress uses it.
I see that two ways though. So probably someone just bought from Amazon and sent it directly to her premises, which is possible.
Of course, yeah, that's more likely situation.
And if that's the case, fine, use it, whatever. Give it as a gift. If you just get a random dildo in a box though, or weirdly packaged, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. So I hope that's not the case.
Well, look, so this obviously spurred us into looking into other things. And also it reminded me of some of my favorite TV shows and how fans in the past have sort of rallied to save them. So although Sex Education is perfectly fine on Netflix, and people are just expressing their appreciation by sending Gillian Anderson these sex toys, in the past, some series in particular, like Roswell, New Mexico, which used to just be called Roswell, but now that there's some dumbass sequel on the CW, we have to say New Mexico, because otherwise you can get confused with the awful 2019 rendition. Anyway, I'm not going to go there. So back in the day, when Roswell was on the cusp of being cancelled, fans used to rally together and actually send the studio and actors Tabasco. Like loads and loads and loads of Tabasco.
That's fascinating.
I know Edward doesn't know why.
Yeah,
yet,
don't tell me because I literally just started watching it. I started watching it last night. So
okay, so I won't mention it now in the podcast, despite me dying to do so. But it's just it's a really cool way of expressing appreciation in a very friendly manner. This doesn't to step on anybody's toes. Doesn't offend anyone. It's Tabasco, and who doesn't love Tabasco? Yeah. Right. Then, in addition to that, there was another show, Veronica Mars, which weirdly enough has actually been brought back on Hulu.
Yeah,
but back in the day, when again cusp of cancellation, fans would send through Mars bars and marshmallows. Because marshmallows used to be what the fans used to call themselves, because Veronica Mars.
That's
they were
weird,
marshmallows.
but
yeah,
that's also cool.
And another show, just because I know we're talking about this quite a bit, but there was another show, Arrested Development, where people used to send through bananas. I'm still not entirely sure why. I think it's because there used to be some fruits in the show, and they made jokes at the expense of some characters. Yeah, anyway, so fans would send through bananas for it to get cancelled. Now, naturally, when we're talking about these things and what actors get sent and stored, and I started wondering, what are the weirdest things that actors have received?
And there are a few.
And let's just say there are some really crazy things, and you're just like, why, people? Why?
Like how the Jonas Brothers got a preserved shark.
Yes.
And
I mean, look. That's a cool one though. Like that one, I can. Well, I mean, I'd have no use for a preserved shark, but that's better than the rest of this list.
I'd have no space for a preserved shark.
With me.
Okay, well.
And then there's like Taylor Swift, for example, who she received a turtle shell with her face painted on it. Now, again, at least there's some arts and crafts in that, but a turtle shell?
Where did that shell come from?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Okay.
Wow. And then Pink got a survival kit which she had to use to get there for a cult.
Yeah, a cult invited her to live with them, and they sent her a survival kit to get there. I mean, no.
Wow.
But this one blew my mind. Like, truly. The last two blew my mind. And this is Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
So, she had a huge hit called Jolene.
Yeah.
And she's just also a phenomenal singer. And she's a wonderful person. I mean, people actually want to put, like, statues of her up, which is great. Thing is, somebody left a baby at her door. As a means of like, hey, you're better equipped to look after this baby who they named Jolene, by the way. Yes. Like, of all the things, like, you send your baby to this actress.
Isn't Jolene a song about like love lost?
I'm not too sure. But essentially, the baby was just left there. And, like, it just says, my name is Jolene, and you'll be a better mommy to me than my real mommy, or something like that.
Well.
Terrible.
Okay, anyway, I'm not getting into that now, but that's...
No, but now Edward's going to tell you about just as crazy, even worse, what Jared Leto did with it, but anyway.
Okay, so we all know Jared Leto is a weird guy. There are horror stories of him acting into his characters and basically just living his characters.
Like when he was Joker especially, right?
Yes.
On, not Justice League?
Yeah.
Birds of Prey, no?
Justice League. No.
Justice League. No.
Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. Listen, they're all terrible movies.
Yeah,
DC
and they're
universe,
all
I mean...
Anyway, like he used to send rats to his coworkers and stuff. But anyway, fans ended up sending him an ear, like a proper Van Gogh style chopped off ear.
I mean,
yeah, I don't know why you would do that. But crazier still is the fact that he turned it into a necklace.
You see, that right there is super disturbing behavior because, I mean, you don't want to condone fans sending you body parts.
Exactly.
So why are you now wearing the ear?
Like somewhere...
Like, what are you doing?
Somewhere there's a guy walking around without one of his ears, and he's all happy and chuffed because the star is wearing it around his neck.
No.
It's weird.
Yeah, that sounds so serial killer-like.
Exactly.
You know?
Gosh.
I mean, and nobody knows where the ear came from. They didn't do, as far as I understand, DNA analysis or anything. So what if it was from a victim?
Oh, I would send that
Anyway,
to the
now
nearest
we're
police
going
station.
down that like dark path. But like, I mean, okay.
That's just weird.
We're talking about this now. Now, have you, our listeners, ever sent anything to a celebrity?
Or been sent something.
Have you, Edward? Have you?
I have not.
So, I mean, I know I've entered competitions.
Yeah.
And when I was really young, I used to send stuff through to KTV, which used to be it stands for Kids Television. And it was a really, really popular program that aired daily and on weekends.
Yeah.
You know, and I still remember even as a kid going to the studio, you know, and being there and like, you know, being part of it. And it was really amazing. And back then, I mean, I'm talking about I was really young. I was like 8, 9,
Were you
10.
in the crowd for KTV?
Yes, not all the time, but I was at least for one of the episodes.
I might have you on video then.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
On VHS, nogal.
Oh, VHS. Okay. Well, I mean, so, like, I get the appeal, but I mean, I'm not going to cut off a limb.
Exactly.
You know?
It's weird.
That's weird. Now, speaking of limbs.
Yeah.
There's definitely a limb that if you're a man, you don't want to get rid of. Unless, of course, you're transitioning, but that's not what we're talking about right now. And Edward is going to talk to us about it because it's hashtag NSFW
NSFW
time.
segment. And this week on the NSFW segment. I just messed that
now,
up.
to our sponsor.
Which we hope will be a sponsor one day, but gosh dang. Anyway, so I've been doing my Googling as usual, and reading all my weird ass websites. And I came across the announcement that Pornhub, yes, the very website that keeps featuring in all of our podcasts.
Keeps talking about.
Listen, they're just amazing, okay? And this proves it. So, Pornhub's Big Package is a brand new initiative the company started that will bring millions of viewers and ads impressions to small businesses in, I believe, only America at this stage.
Okay.
Now, what it does is it's basically any business with 100 or fewer employees can apply for the Pornhub Big Package. And what it does is it puts up customized, like actual made for ads for these companies onto their website. And
the Pornhub website?
Yes, the millions of videos that get seen every day.
Doesn't this sound familiar to you? No?
No.
I'll remind you.
Yeah.
Episode 21.
Yeah.
Where there were those small businesses with the cam models.
That's it. I remember asking you if you told me about Pornhub Big Package earlier, and I don't think you replied. I didn't check my messages.
No, so now that you're talking about it now, in episode 21, we spoke about how, again in America, there were these local cam girl businesses which were going to other local businesses affected by COVID-19, and we're essentially saying we'll give you free advertising.
Yeah.
You know, just give us your product logos, etc., etc. And if you don't mind your business being associated with this industry, we'll give you free advertising. So it almost seems like Pornhub have caught wind of this and have decided, hey, this is actually a decent idea. Let's do this and help people.
Exactly. And
of course, it's only if you're okay with your business being associated with the porn industry, which is another topic entirely, because we have mentioned little bits of it in the past. You know, how we don't really condone it, but what the company's doing, aside from if you don't look at the, you know, the socioeconomic aspects of the actual industry, it's, you know, it seems quite benevolent.
Yeah.
You know, it seems quite good.
Exactly. I think it's a matter of they have the capita and they just want to share it. They want to be the good guy, and I like that idea. I'm just
looking at the logo, and I'm like, really?
Yeah,
did it really
with
have
the
to look
eye.
like a penis?
Of course it did. It's Pornhub. I like the smiley face on it as well. That's a nice touch. Now, on top of this, on top of offering it to just about any business, they also are selecting. I think it's only 100 businesses. I can't remember, but they're also selecting a select few businesses, which they will, for the foreseeable future, allow to advertise on their website for free. For millions of impressions.
That's cool. You know, if maybe you're one of these qualifying businesses in the US, and you don't mind being associated with this industry, by all means,
just go for it.
Check it out.
Yeah,
maybe it's for you. You know.
Yeah.
I guess in some ways, I guess Pornhub's superpower is using their platform and money for benevolent actions in some ways.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, I would
like a lot of the times that we've look. I have to mention this. So like Edward and I are not exactly. We wouldn't say we're in support of the industry because there is a lot of, bad things about it out there. Obviously, okay. You've got to look at things from both perspectives, not just the fact that they're doing all of these awesome things with this money, because there's a lot of exploitation that does happen. So we're not condoning it from that perspective.
Yeah.
Anyway, before we digress even further, superpowers.
Yes, you've got my attention.
This is just a really, really quick one. We'll link it down below. But there was a super, super cool infographic that I came across, which essentially tries to break down superhero powers into an easily digestible infographic of how, like, for example, if you can manipulate objects, where on this
scale,
mind map, would your powers go to the point of eventually getting to, like, what kind of superhero are you most likely like?
Yeah.
And it's a bit difficult to obviously explain if we talk about it now. So we will obviously link below and you can check it out. But just while we're looking at it, Ed, if you'd pick one of the six main powers, which one would it be? Between powers of the body, animal powers, mastery, weapons-based, powers of the mind, object manipulation, and force control.
Honestly, realistically, I would choose mastery because, like,
I actually thought you'd go for weapons-based because you're actually already a archer.
Well, I was getting to that.
Because I get mastery though, because you'd master the being able to do it, and you'd be the next Green Arrow.
Yes, like archery, I love archery, and that's literally next to marksmanship on the mastery scale, but also weapons-based because of the bow and arrow.
Yes.
And that's probably what I would choose. What would you choose?
That's awesome.
Now that
it's a difficult one. So I probably would have gone for force control or powers of the body.
Okay.
I'm not really sure why. They're just the ones that stick out the most, I guess. And I'm kind of looking at it now, and I'm like, that's
to me, I think you would go for powers of the mind rather, because I like to think you're already a very smart person, and just
that's very kind of you.
Upping your intelligence and becoming basically the antimatter or mole man. Okay, not mole man. You're not ugly.
No, becoming the phoenix of
there you go, the phoenix and the starfire.
I mean, she is amazing. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. But this is funny though, because when we spoke about what superhero I'd pick, when we took questions from our audience, I did say Superman.
Yes.
So I think that is superhuman ability, which comes from powers of the body.
Yes, it does.
Anyway, it's an incredible infographic.
Yeah.
We will link to it. Have a look. Check it out.
And tell us.
And when you do, let us know. Yeah. What would you pick? And where on the scale of powers do you fall?
Yeah, like tell us realistically where you fall, and maybe where you'd like to be as well.
Yes.
I'm curious. Yeah. I'm super curious.
Well, look, with superpowers in mind, I just want to talk about something else it's a fairly old topic. It's not new anymore. But it's still cool and it relates to the geekdom, and that has to do with the 7 wonders of the geek world.
Oh, okay.
So I know we've spoken about like powers now, right?
Yeah.
Now the thing is, in order to be part of geekdom, you don't have to have abilities. Of course,
Yeah.
they're cool, and if they aid you in your travels, good for you.
Yeah.
But it's something cool to just think about, because we have the 7 wonders of the world.
Yes.
Actually, I think there are more now. It's essentially like the pyramids, and I think the Colosseum in Rome.
And the Sphinx,
those are the
I
things.
think.
Yeah, yes. So those are the things we have right now in the real world. So it kind of stands to reason, what are they in the geek world?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we have 7, which we've come across and written about, and we'll talk about them a little bit now. But I would like to know, once we finish talking about this, what do you think should be included? Hey?
Yeah.
So anyway, but I'm asking the question prematurely
Yeah.
now, but if we go through it, just like one of my favorites, and this is a no-brainer, okay, is Hogwarts.
I knew, yeah.
But the thing is, though, the reason why this could be contested is because Hogwarts might be where Harry Potter went.
Yes.
But it's not the only magic school. Mm-hmm. There's a lot. There's Durmstrang. There's, I forgot, Bow something. I've forgotten the name. But there's a whole lot of schools in Europe as well as America. So as cool as Hogwarts would be, purely from a fandom perspective, maybe there could be something else that actually falls in this 7 wonders of the geek world.
To be fair, I also think Hogwarts is one, purely because the most villainous of evil villains the magical world has ever seen came from it.
And the biggest hero,
exactly.
right? I suppose.
So that's where the big Wizarding War ended up being.
Took place.
Yes.
Okay, yes. So when you say it like that, you, the non-Harry Potter fan, schooling
exactly.
the Harry Potter fan,
yeah.
thank you. Yes, okay. So from that perspective, yes. I hear you. I get it. So that's one of the 7. So, I mean, I don't think we should discuss every single one of them.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, because there's 7 of them, it'll take a while.
Yeah,
but
well.
like I'll just read them off quickly, and then we'll do a brief talk.
Cool.
It's Argonath from Lord of the Rings, Hogwarts from Harry Potter, the Death Star from Star Wars, Minas Tirith from
Lord of the Rings,
the Enterprise, USS Enterprise from
Star Trek,
the X-Mansion from X-Men, and Barad-dûr, which is basically where Sauron's eye comes from. So what's interesting about this is a lot of them are Lord of the Rings based. Now, I do get this. I understand why, because it's such a massive universe and it's prolific, and a lot of these structures are beautiful. Yeah. They're enigmatic. Like Minas Tirith is where the elves come from, and that thing, even just from the movies, from what I remember, was just phenomenal.
No, Minas Tirith is Gondor's fortress.
Is it Gondor's
yes.
fortress? Okay, sorry, I'm obviously getting them slightly confused.
That's fine.
But I mean, where else? What should actually be considered? So like we were saying 7 wonders here, but maybe there are more.
So to be fair, I would replace one of these many Lord of the Rings ones with maybe the blue box from Doctor Who. I forgot the name now. I just had it, but basically
the TARDIS.
There we go. I would replace one of them with the TARDIS, because that's a wonder. Maybe.
You're right, but see. So now this is the thing. What can be considered a wonder? Does it have to be? I'm under the impression, not just from this list, but also from what we have in the real world, that it has to be a massive structure. So, like, although USS Enterprise is man-made, well, I guess most of the stuff is man-made, it's also out of commission. Yeah. So making it a wonder of the geek world makes sense because it explored the universe. Do you know what I'm saying? So the TARDIS, on the other hand, is consistently used by Doctor Who. So it's not. So
it's a tool at the moment.
It's a tool, vehicle. Yes, versus being because you see, if you're not including the TARDIS, then you'd have to include things like Batman's Batmobile. In my that's my opinion, or the Elder Wand from Harry Potter. So rather, we're talking about like massive, large-scale structures which have prominence in whatever geek story or fandom that we like most. That would be my understanding.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you can think of?
I'm thinking of a few, but I'm only getting games. I'm only getting game structures in my mind.
But why is that? That should be allowed.
Shouldn't.
I mean, games are part of geek culture.
Well, if that's the case, I would put the Lifer tree from Final Fantasy 9. It's a huge, massive tree with like an entire world above it, and it's.
Yeah.
I would put that up there.
Okay. Well. See, now this is just fascinating because, like, I mean, like, just as an example, now, wouldn't the Fortress of Solitude be included in this?
Yes.
Because isn't that a massive ice sculpture in one of the poles?
And that's literally a wonder. It's Superman's base of operations, but it's a museum in and of itself.
Okay, so this is we don't have criteria. But,
like
what
we're just basing this off of anything.
What I would personally like to know, and I know Edward feels the same way, is what do you think? Yeah. Are you happy with this list? We'll obviously link to it below. And what would you add to it? If there was something else that we've missed, perhaps, or we haven't spoken about.
Yeah, please enlighten us, because at the moment the list is very much biased towards Lord of the Rings. For good reason. Yes. I mean, it's an epic.
But you're right. It's biased towards Lord of the Rings, and you know, there's so many other large fandoms out there. Like, I mean, like, let's say Twilight, which I know it's weird of me bringing it up right now. But you know, like, maybe with that place in Rome with the Volturi. Wouldn't that be a wonder of the geek world?
Or
because that's where the vampires came from, at least from that fandom.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just as an example, you know.
No, this is fascinating.
Maybe there are too many fandoms.
Maybe that might be the issue. Like, obviously, we're all.
That's why Lord of the Rings just takes the cake.
We're all biased, and Lord of the Rings is just the best. Like, Lord of the Rings is the granddaddy of fantasy and sci-fi and all that.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly. Oh man! Wow. Well, there we go. Something to ponder.
Yes.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
And one of my AirPods just fell out.
I thought they never fell out.
Well. Well, with that in mind, with things just randomly popping out on our live stream.
That sounds way worse than it is.
/recording.
Get all out of context.
I do believe, I do believe we've reached the end of episode 23.
Yeah.
And it was a good one.
It was.
I mean, we always say
this was a nice very good
one. We cut out a lot, like we always do. Like, as we were talking now, I actually ended up moving things to possibly next week's episode.
I was confused for a split second because we had something right after the superpowers in the show notes.
Yes.
And when it vanished, I was actually, I was panicking for a moment.
It's actually a cool thing to speak about, but it just didn't seem to fit.
Yeah.
And we were already going well over an hour. So I just figured, let's save it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if it was just us talking, we would talk for hours and hours and hours on end. But we do kind of want to keep these at roughly an hour.
Yeah. To make them easily digestible.
You say that, but we've had some feedback from you lovely people who do listen, who would actually prefer 15, 20-minute episodes. I don't think we've ever had less than about 40 minutes.
Thankfully, though, our segments are easily broken down.
Yes, that's true.
So you can listen to something now and then come back to it. Like, that's how I listen to podcasts.
It's why we always include
timestamps. Yes.
And if you are a listener or a watcher on YouTube, you'll see that YouTube now has this new thing where if we include timestamps, you can actually just click on the video and go straight to what you're listening to.
Yeah, it's like little segments.
Or you know, what you're interested in. Yes, so like if you aren't interested in the games, for example, you could just skip through to superpowers.
Yes.
Or to, you know, like this end bit where we were talking about
those 7 wonders.
Geek wonders,
yes.
You know, stuff like that, yeah. Or even the coronavirus, which just seems to always be around. But
yeah.
Anyway.
No, that's cool.
But yeah, well, there we go. So thank you for participating. As always, we love the feedback.
Yes.
You guys.
Yeah, nice.
You know, look, I think we get like really detailed feedback sometimes.
Yeah.
And just shout out to Ian and Vicard from South Africa. Both of them are from South Africa, who always, without fail, will have something to say.
Our biggest fans.
It's awesome. No, it's really
Just
great.
kidnap
Like
me
thank you.
hobble my
Thank
feet,
you.
please.
Oh yes, please. I'm not interested in body parts.
Yeah.
But I will leave a link down below to my PayPal
And my
So-
OnlyFans. I'm starting one up.
Yeah, OnlyFans.
Then you can see my feet.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, with that in mind, thank you everybody for always tuning in. And we look forward to seeing you all again next week. Ciao for now.
Bye.